Hey, Mike with No Problems Gaming here, and today's video will be covering another massive Steam sale and 10 more great games worth buying, so let's get into it. The first game on the list is the Devil May Cry HD Collection. Now this is a collection of the first 3 Devil May Cry games remastered in HD. And these games are really fast-paced action games with some light RPG elements, and you'll play as Dante, a devil hunter, and his twin brother Virgil as they take on demonic monsters and try and save the world from the forces of evil. Now these games are incredibly fun, and throughout the game you'll use a variety of weapons to take on these demonic forces, and so you'll be able to choose from things like massive swords, handguns, shotguns, claw gauntlets, and much more. And so you'll use these to take on these monsters and face off against challenging bosses. As I mentioned, it does have some light RPG elements, so you'll be able to power up your characters, learn new abilities, and find many secrets hidden throughout the levels. If you like fast-paced action games, I would definitely recommend this collection. The next game is The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. And so this is an action RPG roguelike shooter that's full of strange enemies, bosses, and highly addictive gameplay. And so you'll play as a young boy Isaac whose mother hears voices from God telling her that she needs to sacrifice her son in order to save him. And so as she tries to kill you, you actually flee your mother and find yourself taking on demonic hordes through various dungeons in hopes to survive. And so throughout your runs, you'll find hundreds of items and weapon types and hundreds of unlockables to keep you coming back for more. The game features local co-op and over 100 different co-op characters to choose from. It has a lot of roguelike elements, so every run feels fresh. There's dozens of challenging bosses and much more. If you like roguelike action RPG shooters, this is a must play and I definitely recommend it. The next game is Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. Now this game is a retro-inspired hack-and-slash action platformer similar to classic titles like Ninja Gaiden mixed with Mega Man X. And so it takes place in a futuristic dystopian world where a corrupt government has really taken over and is oppressing most of humanity, and they do this through cybernetic robots. And you'll actually play as one of these cybernetic robots that decides to fight the system and take down this corrupt government. And so as I mentioned, it focuses around fast-paced action and challenging action platforming. And most of the levels do feature that gameplay, but there are a couple of additional levels thrown into the mix. One is more of a motorbike, first-person driving level, and then there's also some vertical levels similar to elevator sequences. And as I mentioned, it has that Mega Man type feel because once you clear the first area, you'll have more of a stage select option where you can take on various cybernetic bosses and their levels. And throughout the game, you'll find different chips that you can use to power up your character. And as you defeat bosses, you'll also unlock their special abilities you can use throughout the game as well. On top of that, there's also some challenge elements thrown into the levels where there's a ranking system. And so this adds a new challenge and twist on the gameplay where you can try and achieve better ranks throughout each level. If you like action platformers, I would definitely recommend this as well. The next game is Trinity Trigger. And so Trinity Trigger is a fantasy-based action RPG similar to classic action RPG titles like The Secret of Mana. And in this game, you'll play as a chosen hero of the gods as they battle it out between the warriors of chaos and the warriors of order. And so it is an action RPG, so you'll be doing lots of dungeon crawling, and there's multiple different weapon types that your characters can choose from, as well as multiple playable characters that you can switch between throughout your journey. You can also play the game with local co-op, and so this adds another layer of fun to take on this classic inspired action RPG. There's multiple secrets to discover, an addictive RPG level up system, and if you like classic action RPGs, I would recommend this game as well. The next game is Infernax. Now Infernax is a retro-inspired action platformer Metroidvania RPG, and it's very similar to the classic Castlevania game, Castlevania II Simon's Quest. but they do make a lot of modern enhancements and quality of life improvements to the game as well. And in this game, you'll play as a young knight returning to his kingdom, only to discover that it's been overrun by demonic forces, and you must purge the land of the evil and to save the world. And so the game is pretty gruesome, and it's definitely only for mature audiences, but throughout the game you're faced with some cool choices, basically to choose the morality of your character, whether you want to be good or evil or somewhere in between. And depending on what you choose, this can impact the overall build of your character, the abilities you learn, and different weapons you'll be able to use as well. It has great controls and has that retro feel, but as I mentioned, it makes it a lot more fun with the vast number of quality of life improvements it includes as well. There's lots of secrets to discover, challenging combat and bosses, multiple different endings, and much more. Again, if you like classic action RPGs or Metroidvania style games, I would definitely recommend this as well. The next game is Street Fighter 6. Now, Street Fighter 6 is the latest entry in the long-running fighting franchise that brings some new RPG elements as well as some unique arcade modes that make it feel like the classic arcades of old. And so it features several modes, one of which is a world tour mode, and this is basically where you'll create your own fighter from scratch, and you'll be able to level them up and build them up to fit your play style throughout somewhat of an open world RPG experience. This was a ton of fun, and you can really customize your character how you want and learn different skills and move sets from the different Street Fighter legends across the world. There's also a battle hub which feels a lot like a virtual arcade experience from arcades of old. And so you'll be able to take on different players in arcade matches from around the world, and this is a ton of fun as well. It also includes more of a traditional arcade style fighting experience in the fighting ground mode, and you'll take on computer challengers through more of this traditional arcade experience. It's definitely one of the best fighting games in recent years, and if you haven't played this yet, I definitely recommend it. The next game is the Resident Evil 2 Remake. And so this is a revitalization of the classic survival horror game where you play as Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield as they try and survive the zombie outbreak taking place in Raccoon City. And so this is a remake from the ground up, not just a remaster of the original. And so it totally changes the perspective to a third-person shooter perspective versus the classic clunky tank controls and bird's eye view from the original. I think this really ups the intensity of the game, not to mention it has amazing graphics and really increases the brutality of the zombies. And this as a whole really increases the intensity and horror factor of the game as well. They do expand some of the storyline of the original as well. And so even if you played that original classic, I would highly recommend this game as well. It's definitely one of my favorite zombie games of all time. And if you haven't played this yet, I definitely recommend it. The next game is Baldur's Gate 3. And so Baldur's Gate 3 is a massive turn-based RPG experience based around the Dungeons & Dragons universe. And so when you start off the game, you'll be carefully building your character from scratch and choosing from a variety of things like your overall appearance, the class of your character, the race, some base abilities, and much more. And once you do that, you'll actually find yourself tossed in an adventure where your character has been infected by a mind flayer monster, and you've got this parasite stuck in your brain that's eventually going to kill you or turn you into a mind flayer monster itself. And so you go on a quest to try and remove this mind flayer from your brain without dying, and this leads you into your adventure and meeting the rest of your party. And so throughout this experience, you have a vast world to explore, and it does have that Dungeons & Dragons feel, where you have nearly unlimited choices you can make throughout the game, which can totally alter and change the trajectory of your adventure. It has massive replay value, and I think it does a great job of introducing you to that Dungeons & Dragons experience while giving you a simple enough framework to follow to understand the mechanics and really enjoy your adventure at the same time. I think if you're a fan of turn-based RPGs, and whether you've ever played a D&D session in your life or not, I think you'll really enjoy this either way. and I definitely recommend it. The next game is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And so this is a new entry in the long-running Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat-em-up series, and I feel like it really brings the beat-em-up genre into the modern age. And it does this with several quality of life enhancements to the genre, some additional RPG elements added into the story mode, several playable and unlockable characters, many secrets to find, challenge elements within the levels, and much more. And so you'll play as many of the Ninja Turtle heroes, such as the base Ninja Turtles, but also many of their friends like Splinter, Casey Jones, April O'Neil, and much more. And each one of these characters really has a unique playstyle and feel, and in the story mode, different base stats as well. And as you play and defeat enemies, you'll eventually be able to level up your characters, and this can boost their variety of stats, unlock new special abilities, and much more. Again, it features fast-paced beat-em-up action for up to 6 players. There's the traditional arcade modes as well, if you're looking for more of a challenge. And this is definitely one of the best beat-em-ups in recent years, and if you haven't played it yet, it's definitely a must pick up. The final game on today's list is the Metal Slug Triple Pack. And so this bundle includes 3 titles from the famous Metal Slug series, which features fast-paced run-and-gun shooter arcade action. And it includes 3 titles, Metal Slug, Metal Slug 3, and Metal Slug X. And all of these feature a single-player experience as well as co-op action, so you can experience these arcade classics solo or with a friend. And as I mentioned, the gameplay is a fast-paced run-and-gun shooter, and you'll have a variety of weapon types that you can find throughout the game, including your standard handgun, a melee knife action, and several different new projectile weapons you can find along the way. There's a variety of stages to play through, featuring challenging bosses. It also features free play mode, which basically leads to unlimited continues, or if you want more of a challenge, you can take on the arcade modes as well. If you want to experience some of the best run-and-gun shooters and these classic arcade games, I'd recommend getting this bundle as well. But again, that wraps up our list on this latest Steam sale, and 10 more great Steam deals to pick up this sale. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you played any of these games before? Are you going to pick any of them up now that you've seen they're on sale? Are there other great games on sale that I missed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you'd like to help support our channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours over at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And another really cool way you can help support the channel is we actually partnered with a game store, Nutmeg Games. So if you like board games, Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Magic cards, and more, you can head to nutmeggames.com/nerdproblemsgaming and use our promo code nerdproblemsgaming at checkout. You'll get 10% off your order and help support the channel at the same time. So if you want to take advantage of that great deal, be sure to head there and use our promo code as well. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out, and to make sure you can take advantage of future sale videos so you don't miss out on any of these great deals. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.